Welcome back, everybody. Business here. We've got the Tier 6 American cruiser, the Cleveland. This is the one that has had many a tear cried about. It's a spam-happy ship that just, my god, the amount of firepower that it can put down at ranges up to 17.5 kilometers is ridiculous. Just showing off my modules here. The usual fare, except for this is one of the very few ships that I actually use the AA gun modification for the increased range. Generally, I go with accuracy mod. It just depends on what I'm doing with that particular ship. Showing some of the details on the main battery here. There's hardly a difference between the maximum AP and HE shell damage, and that's a big part of your ammo selection choice here too, because sometimes it's just not worth it to switch to AP, especially against other Clevelands. It's not an easy ship to citadel with certain caliber cannons, and generally I don't think it's that hard to citadel with 203mm or higher guns, but whatever. Just wanted to point out the advanced firing training does increase the range of these cannons to that 17+ kilometer range. Showing up the secondary battery here, that's what's used with the AA ability when you activate that, and you can see that in the grouping here with the AA complement. So there's really not that many cannons on the AA cannons on the Cleveland, so if you're hitting them with HE, chances are you're knocking out a number of these modules, the AA guns themselves, and reducing their effectiveness, and that's actually a big deal when you get into the mid-later stages of a game. Always something to consider, that a heavily damaged Cleveland will be nowhere near as effective without half of his AA complement, so that's just something to consider. Not that I have actually tested it out, but it seems to be that way, obviously. So again, AA modification, and that boosts my range out up to 40% on top of the base range, so that's a pretty significant amount, and I put that to good use here. We have a Juho on our team, and they have an Independence and a Bogue, and if I remember correctly, these are all the strike packages, or as strike package as you can get with the American carriers, considering that they still get fighters in some respects, but not that I know much about carriers in the first place, but I pay more attention now than I ever did to their loadouts, that's for sure. But you can see we've got a whole blob of battleships and cruisers here just off to my right. Trying to hustle to get in between the incoming planes and my teammates. I am their best chance at having a reduced chance of taking damage and whatnot, and I wanted to make sure that I was doing proper screening, because if I'm on the backside, if I'm forward or behind them, I'm not nearly as effective, obviously, because they only come into play, the planes will only come into range when they've already dropped their payload. So there's, it's just stupid to be in any place other than harm's way, because if you can take the damage for your team, then you should, I think. But again, it just depends on the situation. But I launched my fighter and have the AA ability active, and these things are just falling out of the sky pretty fast, so definitely getting some good concentrated AA here, and I'm not really sure if anything actually hit any of my teammates here, but it's a good day if nobody sunk right off the bat from a concentrated strike like that. And the important part here too is it's not just about torpedo bombers or dive bombers. You have to take out the enemy carrier's fighters. It's just as crucial, because if those things are active, your carrier will always have reduced performance, if any performance at all. It's just something that's worthwhile to consider, and definitely worthwhile to target if you're in a cruiser. And try to make sure that you position yourself where, obviously you're not going to sink yourself by wandering into a pack of enemies, but that you put yourself in a position to be able to help your carrier and take down any type of aircraft that's in the air. Because I mean, also if you think about it, if you take down if you're assisting his fighters, then they can do their job better and shut down the enemy carrier and stay closer to them and get them the second they take off from the carrier, which is just crappy anyways. I really don't like that mechanic, but we're trying to win here after all, right? So anyways, have somewhat not that great of a level of success with the Cleveland now, with the increased shell travel time against other cruisers, until a certain range. I don't think the Cleveland is suited for cruiser versus cruiser combat at all. Until you get to about 11 kilometers or under, there's a particular range where the shells start to flatten out in their arc, and they do a hell of a lot better in being able to nail a faster moving target. And the same is said for destroyers as well. I just don't think it's very good at clearing out destroyers, and until you get to a certain range, the Aoba is much better suited at the longer ranges, 8 to say 14 kilometers than the Cleveland is, because it may be an improved shell travel time in that range, when they get closer, but it's still plenty enough time in a lot of situations for them to maneuver and mitigate some damage. And this is 16.5 kilometers, and it's going to take 14.5 seconds to reach. I mean, what good is that against anything other than a slow 16 knot bogue, or actually I don't know if it's exactly that speed, but it's damn slow, or a battleship. And I think a big part of the Cleveland's effectiveness, and actually just cruisers in general, is against battleships when you have a carrier teammate. If you can slow them down by forcing them to try to dodge your shots and your barrage of HE spam and whatnot, you're setting them up for a potential bloodbath from your carrier. If you think about it, like where say a New York or a New Mexico is turning, they're drastically losing speed. I mean, going from 20, 21 knots down to 16, 18 knots, and that's damn slow, and that's a hell of a lot easier for your carrier to hit. So I think if you team up, if you've got somebody in the division with you who has a Cleveland, take your carrier out if that's what you play, or vice versa, because I really think that's a way to dramatically increase your overall effectiveness as a team and as a unit. But you can see the mentioning of slow-moving targets and whatnot. It's not necessarily that the Congo's slow, it's just that it's predictable and that it's a large target. So it's a hell of a lot easier to hit this than, say, if it were another Cleveland, because he'd be, bobbing and weaving like a running back or something and just dodging all these hits. But once you get the lead too on an enemy battleship, man, the amount of damage that you can do, whether it's just via fires or knocking out all their modules, I think it's an important factor. But he seems pretty resistant to just dying outright, so this takes a little longer than it should. Alright, so he finally gets destroyed. That's the end of that match. Got my first clear sky, which is weird because I actually shot down more planes in an Aoba, 39 planes, and didn't get the achievement at all, so seems kind of strange. This particular clip, I'm not gonna lie, I don't take my own advice sometimes, and I'll call myself out for it. I was stupid this particular match, and you'll see why in a moment. But What I was saying about the Cleveland not being particularly well suited against other cruisers is true in the event that you don't have another Cleveland with you. If you have another Cleveland with you, you can alternate your fire and you can absolutely decimate other cruisers, especially if you're doing, if both of you are doing staggering fire, each turret at a time, as opposed to just doing a full-on salvo. You can really catch people off balance and off guard, and hopefully force them into a mistake that cost them their ship. And poor Kamikaze's on fire there. But I do think the Cleveland has actually appreciable armor. It's certainly better than the Aoba at the same tier, of course. It does have, as everybody's beginning to become aware of now, one of the smallest hitboxes in the game for the Citadels. That doesn't mean that you shouldn't use AP against these. It just depends on what ship you're using against them. So battleships, I'm not entirely sure if I would, I don't know, if I would go with HE or AP. It just depends on the situation. If, say, I'm coming around a corner and, he's 10 kilometers away, hell yeah, I'm going to use AP. If he's further out than that, I'll maybe blast him with a salvo of HE and then switch to AP. I think it's funny watching enemy Clevelands get on fire by battleships. That's actually really amusing to me. But this destroyer definitely gets too close, and you can clearly see how much more flat the arc gets, and how much more quickly the shells actually reach the target. And yeah, why I'm shooting AP at that angle, I should obviously use HE just to get the damage on him and kill him finally, but stupid of me. Now this is where it gets really dumb though. So I switch back to AP, and I'm like, hey, I don't care what happens. We're doing pretty good here, and I want to test out these hitboxes. I don't have access to the, the training grounds or whatever, although I would like to. And I should be using HE here just to guarantee some damage. I've lost a hell of a lot of health already. And I'm still searching for those hitboxes, and the thing is, I'm firing, and with these smaller cannon at that angle, it's not going to work. And now he's starting to straighten out a little bit, finally get some Citadels, but it's pointless anyways because of the fact that these shells do so little damage with AP. Their maximum Citadel damage is minimal at best. And that's not to dissuade people from using AP with this, because you still have to consider the sheer volume and rate of fire of these cannons. Even if you get 2 Citadel hits out of the 12 shots, you're still gonna have another chance to do exactly the same thing or more in the next salvo in 7 seconds or something. Here's a good example. I don't know what happened to that Kuma. It doesn't matter because he's dead. So he took four Citadels, of course, and I died to the fire that I couldn't put out, and managed to triple Citadel on the bow. So yay. So the Cleveland overall is one of the best escorts you can have on your team. It's absolutely fantastic against enemy battleships, and chances are you're unfortunately aware of that. So either way, I hope the video was helpful, and I'll see you here next time. Take care.